Right before God elevates you, He empties your life of certain people. And if you do not understand what is happening, the very season that was meant to launch you can feel like the season that is destroying you, because the timing is almost always the same. The relationships start falling away precisely when your breakthrough is closest. You have prayed for this breakthrough for years. You have waited. You have believed. You have held on. And now, just as it approaches, people are leaving. Friendships are cooling. Connections are breaking. And in your confusion, you are praying the wrong prayer. You are asking God to restore what He is deliberately removing, to hold together what He is intentionally taking apart. Today, I want to open your eyes to something that will completely change how you see the losses happening around you. We are going to talk about 7 types of people God will remove right before your biggest breakthrough, and why fighting their removal may be the very thing delaying the promise you have been waiting for. In John 15:2, Jesus said something that explains this entire process. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. Pruning. That is what this season is. God is not punishing you by removing people. He is preparing you. He is cutting away what cannot come with you so that what remains can flourish. But pruning always feels like loss before it produces fruit. And the question is whether you will trust the gardener's hands. Number 1. The ones who only knew the old version of you. The first people God often removes are the ones who are deeply attached to who you used to be. They are not bad people. Many of them loved you genuinely, but their entire relationship with you was built on a version of you that God is now calling you to outgrow. And they cannot follow you into the new thing because they are anchored to the old one. I went through a season of significant spiritual and personal growth, and I noticed something painful happening. Certain friendships that had once felt effortless suddenly felt strained. These were people I loved, people I had history with, but every conversation seemed to pull me backward, toward old habits, old patterns, old ways of thinking I was working hard to leave behind. It was not that they were trying to hurt me, it was that they only knew how to relate to the person I was, not the person I was becoming. And staying close to them required me to shrink back into a self I was no longer meant to be. This is the exact dynamic Jesus faced in Mark 6 when He returned to His hometown. The people who had known Him as the carpenter's son could not receive Him as the Messiah. Their familiarity with His past blinded them to His calling, and Scripture says He could not do many miracles there because of it. Sometimes the people who knew you when are the very people who cannot celebrate you now. When God begins to separate you from those tied to your old self, do not force the reunion. Some people are meant for a chapter, not the whole book. Number 2, the ones who are comfortable with your potential but threatened by your progress. The second type is subtle and painful because these people genuinely seem to support you as long as your dreams stayed dreams. They loved talking about your potential. They encouraged your someday. But the moment your someday started becoming today, something shifted. Your potential was inspiring to them. Your progress was threatening. I have watched this happen to many believers, and I have experienced it myself. There were people who cheered loudly for my vision when it was still far off and unthreatening. You're going to do amazing things one day, they would say. But when the breakthrough actually started to materialize, when the vision began moving from words into reality, their enthusiasm cooled into a strange silence. The encouragement stopped. The support evaporated. Because supporting a distant dream costs nothing, but watching someone actually surpass you exposes something uncomfortable in the human heart. Think of Joseph and his brothers in Genesis 37. They could tolerate Joseph as the younger brother. What they could not tolerate was Joseph's dreams beginning to suggest he would rise above them. Their jealousy was not triggered by his potential, it was triggered by the threat that his potential might actually come true. When you notice people who loved your dreams growing distant as those dreams come to life, understand what is happening. God may be removing them precisely because your breakthrough would expose a jealousy that has no place in your next season. Number 3, the ones who constantly drain your spiritual and emotional energy. The third type of person God removes is the chronic drain. These are the relationships that consistently leave you depleted. The ones where you are always giving and rarely receiving, always pouring out and never being filled. And right before a breakthrough, When you need every ounce of your energy focused on what God is doing, He often removes the people who have been quietly siphoning your strength. I once carried a relationship like this for far longer than I should have. Every interaction was a withdrawal from my emotional and spiritual account, never a deposit. This person brought constant crisis, constant negativity, constant need, and I justified staying because I thought leaving would be unloving. But I was so busy managing their endless drama that I had nothing left for the things God was actually calling me to. It was only when that relationship finally fell away that I realized how much of my strength it had been consuming, strength I desperately needed for the breakthrough that was waiting. Even Jesus, in Mark 5, when the woman with the issue of blood touched his garment, said, "I perceive that power has gone out of me." Energy transfers in relationships. It can be given, and it can be drained. There are seasons when God must remove the drains so that your power is reserved for your purpose. If a relationship consistently empties you and never fills you, and it falls away right as your breakthrough approaches, do not exhaust yourself trying to revive it. You may need that very energy for what God is about to do. Number 4. The ones whose unbelief would sabotage your faith at the critical moment. The fourth type is one of the most dangerous to keep, because breakthroughs require faith. And these are the people who systematically erode it. They are the voices of be realistic, the voices of don't get your hopes up, the voices that, at the exact moment you need to believe God for the impossible, fill your ears with every reason it cannot happen. I have seen callings die not because the person lacked faith, but because they kept the wrong voices too close during the most critical season. When you are standing at the edge of a breakthrough, faith is everything. And the consistent, doubt-filled commentary of an unbeliever in your purpose can be enough to talk you out of the very thing God is trying to do. Their doubt is contagious. Their realism is corrosive, and kept too close, it can pull you off the wall right before the work is finished. When Jairus' daughter lay dying in Mark 5, and Jesus prepared to raise her, He did something striking. He put the doubters out of the room. He removed everyone who was weeping and wailing in unbelief, and He allowed only the believing few to witness the miracle. Sometimes, God has to clear the room of unbelief before He can perform the breakthrough. If people of chronic doubt are being removed from your inner circle right now, do not mourn the loss. God may be clearing the room so faith can fill it. If someone's face has already come to your mind as you watch this, brother, sister, please subscribe to this channel and write in the comments, "Lord, I trust your pruning, even when it hurts." Type it now, because the spiritual world responds to declarations. And stay with me, because the final 3 are the ones that are hardest to release, the ones almost no one is willing to let go of. Number 5. The ones God is protecting you from before you can see the danger. The 5th type is the most mysterious, because at the time of their removal, you often have no idea why. There is no falling out, no obvious reason. The person simply drifts away, or the relationship quietly ends, and you are left confused, even grieved, because from where you stand, nothing was wrong. But God sees what you cannot, and sometimes He removes a person before you ever discover the danger they carried. I have lived this more than once, and only in hindsight did the picture become clear. There were people God moved out of my life for reasons I did not understand at the time. I prayed for those relationships to be restored. I grieved their loss. I could not comprehend why God would take them. And then, months or years later, something would come to light. A hidden character, a concealed motive, a coming betrayal, and I would suddenly realize that God had removed that person to protect me from a wound I never even knew was being prepared. In 1 Samuel, when David was fleeing from Saul, God repeatedly moved him from place to place, removing him from people and situations David did not fully understand at the time. But every move was protection. Every separation was strategy. God was preserving David's life and his destiny, even when David could only see the loss. When God removes someone and gives you no explanation, trust that His silence is not absence. He sees the danger you cannot. His protection often arrives before you ever learn what you were being protected from. Number 6. The ones whose season with you has simply ended. The 6th type is perhaps the hardest to accept, because there is no villain in the story. This person did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong. There was no betrayal, no jealousy, no drain, no danger. It is simply that their season in your life has reached its natural end, and God is closing a chapter that was always meant to close. Not every relationship that ends is a tragedy. We are taught to believe that every connection should last forever, that the ending of any relationship represents a failure. But that is not how God designed the journey. Some people are sent into your life for a specific season, to teach you something, to walk a particular stretch of road with you, to prepare you for what is next. And when that purpose is fulfilled, holding on past the season can actually hinder both of you. In Acts 15, Paul and Barnabas, two of the most powerful figures in the early church, came to a sharp disagreement and parted ways. These were not enemies. They were spiritual giants who had labored side by side, but their season together had ended. And remarkably, their separation led to the gospel spreading in two directions instead of one. What looked like a painful ending was actually a divine multiplication. When God closes a chapter with someone who was never your enemy, do not force the book to stay open. Honor what the season was, and trust God with the season that is coming. Number 7. Deep in your spirit, you already know who this is. The 7th removal needs no further explanation because God has already spoken it directly to your spirit. If you are honest right now, truly honest, there is a person whose face appeared in your mind before I even finished the title of this video. Someone you have been gripping tightly, praying to keep, fighting to hold on to, even as a quiet voice has been telling you for a long time that it is time to let go. You have resisted that voice. You have explained it away. You have told yourself that loyalty means holding on, that giving up on this relationship would be a failure of faith. But the knowing keeps returning in your quiet moments, in your prayer time, in that fragile space between sleeping and waking when your defenses are down and your spirit speaks plainly. And every time it returns, you tighten your grip, because the thought of releasing them feels unbearable. That is not your imagination. That is the Holy Spirit doing exactly what Jesus promised in John 16:13, guiding you into all truth, including the truths about the relationships you are not yet ready to release. God is not asking you to let go to leave you empty. He is asking you to open your hands so He can fill them with what He has been preparing for your breakthrough. You do not need another sign. You do not need another confirmation. You already have the knowing. The only thing remaining is the courage to open your hands. Now, before we close, I need to say something important. And I need you to hear it with your whole heart. The removal of people from your life is not God being cruel. It is God being strategic. He sees the end from the beginning. He knows exactly what your breakthrough will require. And He knows exactly which relationships could not survive the weight of it, or would sabotage it before it arrived. And in His love, He clears the path ahead of you, even when clearing it means letting some people go. This does not mean you respond with bitterness or coldness. Releasing someone does not mean hating them. In most cases, it does not even mean confrontation. Sometimes, it simply means opening your hands, blessing them, praying for them, and allowing the space between you to grow as God intends. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us that there is a time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. The maturity of your faith is revealed not only in what you hold on to, but in what you are willing to release when God says it is time. And here is the promise hidden inside the pain. God never removes without intending to replace. He does not empty your life to leave it empty. He clears the ground to plant something greater. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." The very removal you are grieving may be the clearest sign that your breakthrough is closer than it has ever been. So do not grieve the pruning as though it were punishment. Receive it as preparation. The gardener only prunes the branch he intends to make more fruitful. And the fact that He is pruning you at all is proof of what He is preparing to grow. If this message has opened your eyes today, write in the comments, "Lord, I open my hands, and I trust You with my breakthrough." That is not just a comment. That is a declaration. And the spiritual world hears declarations. And if someone came to your mind as you watched, someone who is fighting a removal God may have ordained, someone exhausting themselves trying to hold a relationship together that God is gently taking apart, share this video with them today. It could be the word that finally gives them the courage to open their hands. Do not forget to subscribe to Faith Unmasked, so we can keep growing together in biblical wisdom every single week. God bless you deeply, my brother, my sister. Until next time.